freedom,
family,
world unity.
All these things and more will be discussed on this podcast.
Real stories, real people, real debates. On this podcast, we like to express our freedoms and talk about anything and everything goes.
Like freedom, family is important to us, and anybody that is listening, watching, or coming on the show as a guest star are all considered part of the greatest family to ever bless the solar system, the human race. No matter who you are, where you come from, you will always have a voice here on this podcast.
We like to flex our First Amendment, where all speeches and opinions are accepted for the right of freedom of speech. We have a saying we like to live by. Live life with eyes wide open. Being open-minded leads to true understanding of the world as it really is. Please, come, join us, and enjoy this experience as we embark on this journey of truth as we dismantle the subjective truth. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And you're experiencing high consciousness.
Disclaimer. Any and all information on topics presented to the best of all who is present in each episode's knowledge. The goal of this podcast is to bring people together and set the example we all wish to see in our everyday lives. Whether it's home life, education, politics, history, business, etc. Any and all subjects can and will be talked and peacefully debated about on this podcast. On debate episodes, there will be a set rules of debate that hosts and guests alike must follow. We ask that you, the audience, like we ask of our guests, in the comments to please try to keep the language as clean as possible. We are a podcast for entertainment as well as educational purposes. Here we are all equal no matter what race, age, or gender. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Hi, y'all.
Hey, y'all, and welcome back
To another episode of
High Consciousness.
I'm your host, Nicholas.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria, and we are High Consciousness. Welcome back, everybody. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. We are a fairly new channel. We like to go over American history, at least for right now. Eventually, when we get down the road, we'll be exploring many different other countries and their histories and their religions, their mythologies, all the whole 9 yards.
And different cultures and different, I guess, entertainment. Plus, like I said, this is a podcast that's really about anything and everything. Mm-hmm. So we're going to literally be spitballing everywhere.
Yep. And, well, today's episode is Chapter 19 of The Secret Destiny of America. So, Chapters 18 recap. We're going to let Nick do it since I did it last time.
Now, the last chapter was about the Great Seal and how it came to be. We asked ourselves the questions. What it was the bird on our seal? Is it really the eagle or was it a phoenix? And we come to find out that it was actually modified as the phoenix, but it was changed into the eagle to be modernized with.
Well, you mean that it was at first supposed to be the phoenix, then it got.
Well, technically, Ben McClellan wanted it to be a turkey, but that's neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there. Gobble gobble. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, like I said in the last episode, like.
No one
if
likes
the
the red.
turkey was to be
red?
our bird, you know, like, that would honestly make a lot of sense because, you know, we are the only country that has Thanksgiving, which, you know, we eat the turkey every Thanksgiving.
On every Thursday.
On that Thursday, which, you know, Nostradamus said we would become, you know, the blessed isles that keeps the Thursday or something like that. So, you know, a turkey would have been perfect. And even the first Thanksgiving was well before our founding fathers even did what they did in 1776. So, again, I agree with Benjamin Franklin. Gobble, gobble.
But we also learned about what the significance of the phoenix was, which was, everyone can guess, is reincarnation and mortality. In a sense, it was our rebirthing from freeing ourselves from our superiors. In a long run, in a sense. And there's the three seals, which is the three seals, two seals, which is the eagle with the olive branch and the arrow, and the one with the Illuminati, with the all-seeing eye and Not Illuminati, but
whoops.
whoopsies, but they're whoops. But they all see an eye in the pyramid on our dollar bills, and when I'm still waking up, but
you're kind of not wrong.
I mean,
but anyway, when they were first presented to the American people, they were presented on the first printed $1 bills
in 1937, 32. Let's double check that.
Let's double check our reference. That was chapter 18, so we're all the way back here, baby.
No, yeah.
Oh yeah, we're at 18.
No. We're not too far off, baby. This is the chapter. It's 1935.
1935.
Series 1935A. So I guess there was like 2 series of $1 bills out. Well, it makes sense.
Well, whenever you look at the dollar bill, it will always have like a series of letters and numbers, and those letters and numbers are the routing numbers for those dollar bills, kind of like the routing number for your bank account. It's to make the money transferable, and it also tells you which banks that they belong to or which banks that they were printed from, which there's, Bank A, Bank B, Bank C, Bank D, all the way to Z. And in some banks, the money is printed with, more than one letter on it, JKL or JFK sometimes. I've seen one with JFK on it. That was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then there's one where it has ABD or something like that, okay. And then a series of numbers or a series of numbers in between those letters or something like that.
Okay. But yeah, the first $1 bill in 1935 was first showcasing of the all-seeing eye and the pyramid of the Giza pyramid, which was a tribute to Thoth. And that's
or Hermes.
And that's where basically was the first time that we all three significant things: the Phoenix, the all-seeing eye, and the Giza pyramid. Those were the 3 significant things that we took away from our seals. That pretty much suppose that we're the order of the quest. That, and a long story short.
And it was a paid tribute to not only Thoth with the pyramid, but it was also a tribute to the Great White Lodge, which is the Giza Pyramid, mm-hmm. which when you read the Emerald Tablets, it tells you that. And just to back it up, to prove that it was the Great White Lodge at one point, we all know that, the Giza Pyramid used to be covered in white limestone, and the Egyptian government did just get in trouble about a year or 2 ago because they wanted to reinstate the white limestone on the Giza Pyramid. So there you go, the Great White Lodge they talk about in the Emerald Tablets is exactly what they talk about. So again, it's a symbol of, or it's one of the symbols of Freemasonry. It's where all the mysteries and the knowledge that they get comes from. Which, as we know, our founding fathers, most of them were Freemasons.
Yeah, for the most part, yes. And for all my Assassin's Creed gamers out there, y'all played Assassin's Creed Origins, you could go see the pyramids for yourself. Mm-hmm. But anyway, what's today's chapter, baby?
Today's chapter is the prophetic dream of General McClellan. General McClellan was a Union general for the Union Army back when America had their Civil War. And just a little, teaser here. Apparently, he had a dream where George Washington showed up and said something very compelling to him that changed the fate of the entire, United States and the way that we conduct ourselves today. So, getting on to the reading. Chapter 19. In a dark hour of military apprehension, the general of the Union forces was visited by a vision in a dream. A voice spoke, and a map came alive with troop movements as the enemy forces moved into the very positions he had intended to occupy. The voice told him that he had been betrayed. He raised his eyes and looked into the face of George Washington. When McClellan awoke, his map was covered with marks and signs and figures, indicating the strategy that prevented the capture of the nation's capital. Also included in the dream was a warning of the father of our country that we would wage still another struggle for existence, ere in another century shall have gone by, against the oppressors of the whole earth. So, that's just a little, summary description right in the front there. But continuing on. The vision of Constantine changed the course of the Roman Empire. The visions of Joan of Arc preserved France in an hour of darkest need, and the vision that came to General McClellan was a powerful force in the preserving of the union of the American people. The story of McClellan's dream, preserved in the general's own words, seems to have appeared in print for the first time in the Portland, Maine. Evening Courier of March 8, 1862, had the story not been true, it is most certain that McClellan himself would have made some statement of disapproval or demanded a retraction. So already, so even back then, it's like if you know a story is true, then, they're not gonna demand, a retraction and being like, oh, y'all lying, all that stuff. So the story apparently, supposedly, was true. General McClellan's career as a soldier was not exceptionally brilliant, but he was a good organizer, and he made many enemies because of certain fixations of temperament. But there can be no question of his sincerity and his dedication to the cause of the Union. In the interest of brevity, here we will give a digest of parts of the story of the dream with the general's own words preserved in more significant passages. At 2 o'clock of the third night after General McClellan's arrival at Washington, D.C., to take command of the United States Army, he was working over his maps and studying the reports of scouts. A feeling of intense weariness came over him, and leaning his forehead on his folded arm, he fell asleep at his table. He had not been sleeping more than 10 minutes when it seemed that the locked door of his room was suddenly thrown open. Someone strode up to him in a voice terrible with power. Meaning, back in those old days when they would say terrible with power, it means great, intense power. General McClellan, do you sleep at your post? Rouse, or here it can be prevented and the foe will be in Washington. The general then describes in some detail this strange feeling. At that moment, he seemed to be suspended in the middle or in the center of infinite space, and the voice came from a hollow distance all about him. So, the door was thrown open, and he's, looking around, and apparently he doesn't see anybody at first, but it feels like the voice is coming, from all over.
Right.
He started up, but whether he was really awake, he was never able to decide for himself. The table covered with maps was still before him, but the furniture, the walls of the room, and other familiar objects were no longer visible. So, at that point, I'm sure he knew he was in his dream. Instead, he was gazing upon a living map, including the entire area of the country from the Mississippi River all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. McClellan tried to see the features of the being that stood with him, but could discern nothing but a vapor having the general outline of a man. When he looked upon the great map, McClellan was amazed to see the movements of the various troops and regiment, a complete pattern of the enemy's lines and distribution of forces. The general was immediately infused with great elation, for he felt the movements on this extraordinary map would enable him to bring the war to a speedy and victorious termination. So, as he's in this dream, he's watching all the little figurines and stuff on this map that he's got in front of him in real life, moving by themselves, drawing the enemy forces here, his forces over there, and showing him how to conquer it. That's pretty cool. Continuing on. His elation changed to great apprehension. He saw the enemy's forces moving to certain points which he himself had intended to occupy within the next few days. He quietly realized that in some way his plans were known to the enemy. Then again the voice spoke. General McClellan, you have been betrayed, and had God not willed otherwise, here the sun of tomorrow had set the Confederate flag, would have waved above the Capitol and your own grave. But note what you see, your time is short. His pencil moving with the speed of thought, McClellan transferred the troop positions from the living map to a paper map on his desk. When this had been done, he became aware that the figure standing next to him had increased in light and glory until it shone like the noonday sun. As he raised his eyes, he looked into the face of George Washington himself. So, like that little teaser, George Washington came up in the room and was like, hey, God told me that I need to tell you that you got a mole in your forces, and that mole is going to betray you and make you lose the nation's capital to the Confederate army tomorrow. So that's pretty like, whoa.
And he saw the whole events in front of him unfolded with those little live figurines.
Because at first he saw like that his plan was working until he saw that his forces got ambushed when he was trying to occupy the places that he planned to occupy. So then George Washington's like, hey, you got a mole, and God told me to tell you how to rectify this. So here's how you do it. Moving on. The first president, with sublime and gentle dignity, looked upon the bewildered officer and spoke as follows. General McClellan, while yet in the flesh I beheld the birth of the American Republic. It was indeed a hard and bloody one, but God's blessing was upon the nation, and therefore through this, her first great struggle for existence, he sustained her with his mighty hand brought her out triumphantly. A century has not passed since then, and yet the child republic has taken her position of peer with nations whose pages of histories extend for ages into the past. She has, since those dark days, by the favor of God, greatly prospered, and now, by very reason of this prosperity, has she been brought to her second great struggle. This by far the most perilous ordeal she has to endure, passing as she is from childhood to an opening maturity. She is called on to accomplish that vast result of self-conquest, to learn that important lesson, self-control, self-rule, that the future will place her in the van of power and civilization. But her mission will not then be finished, for here another century shall have gone by. The oppressors of the whole earth, hating and envying her exaltation, shall join themselves together and raise up their hands against her. But if she still be bound worthy of her high calling, they shall surely be discomfited. Discomfited.
Yeah.
And then will be ended her third and last great struggle for existence. Therefore shall the Republic go on, increasing in power and goodness, until her borders shall end only in the remotest corners of the earth, and the whole earth shall beneath her shadowing wing become a universal republic. Let her, in her prosperity, however, remember the Lord her God, her trust be always in him, and she shall never be confounded. Whoa. So again, we go back to, the last chapter and one of the other previous chapters when we're talking about, that great spirit that is here, that is guarding and protecting America and preserved America specifically for our time, for this specific time in time to develop and become a leader of the world.
In a sense, and then we're going to go through a third struggle. Now the question is, which... Have
we already gone through that third struggle? Because, so the Civil War...
is essentially the second big struggle. And how I'm thinking, and what I'm thinking is, because I'm scratching my head again, because it makes me ponder. Because it's like, when it says third struggle, does it mean like internally? Like we have to stop learning to self... And are we legitimately learning how to self-govern ourselves right now? And try to break ourselves away from our own government who has, in a sense, become not necessarily corrupt, but there are definitely some crony aspects of it. That's the only thing I could think of. Because,
well, from what I understand, the second great struggle was the internal one. And when it says, but her mission will not then be finished, for another century will go by, and the oppressors of the whole earth will join themselves together and raise up against her. So...
That'll be what year is that? 1836? What year is it?
This is...
Does it say the year?
1862.
1862, so that'll be meaning 1962. That'll be up during the Cold War era?
World War One, World War Two,
Cold War era,
the Cold War,
Korean War.
Unless there's some kind of unknown war we don't know about, or
No.
maybe it's just not within. It's not within our memory banks right now.
No, it's within our memory banks. I just named off most of the wars that went on. And then there's 9/11 with the terrorist attack. I'm trying to think of like struggles.
Well, the whole world didn't go against us then. If anything, a lot of the world joined up with us when 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's talking about now.
Unless it's talking about World War II, maybe.
No, because
no, because we had about half the world on our side, as did we with World War I as well. So the Cold War, that was just Russia, really. Or at least that's what we're taught. You know, it was the Soviet Union.
So it's multiple countries.
But I wouldn't count that as the second struggle, though, or as the third struggle. Maybe it's still yet to come, or maybe it already has passed and we just don't even know it, or we're not taught about it.
Or it's currently going on right now.
Or it's currently going on right now. I don't know. Because when these prophetic dreams, like, happen, like, so far they're pretty spot on. But, again, prophecies are not always accurate. Or at least not accurate for right now. There could be other prophecies where we might have just, missed the mark somewhere, or they haven't happened yet because it was set for another time.
Because of the simple fact that...
Like, that's the tricky thing with, prophecies and the prophetic futures.
Well, that and also when you set a timeline of a century, a lot of things can happen. Stuff can be prolonged.
So then...
because you guys realize, so you can section out some parts of prophecies, but still prolong them. Because things happen.
I guess we'll have to do a little research on the back end. Because... Okay. Let's take a dive into the Matrix.
Excuse me, y'all, but I'm going to see who they try to interrupt our show.
That's why we have rule no phones.
It was my brother.
How should I pose the question? I guess we'll go 1962, seeing as how it was a century.
1962 wars. International wars. Let's see what we got here.
Okay. A list of wars. It's Wikipedia, so I'm not sure how accurate it is.
It'll be pretty accurate. It'll get to where we need to go to.
Okay, so...
That's 54, 62.
Is there any that...
Started
ended in 62?
Yeah, you go up. Go up. Up.
48 to ongoing.
Well, they just gonna keep on going.
The anti-government groups. Wait, what? Until 2021?
Yeah, I bet. Until government came into play. Yeah. Scroll up. Doesn't matter. Scroll up. 1962. That's not what we.
This might be it. This right here.
Burmese.
The internal conflict in Myanmar.
Okay, well let's click on it and see what. I don't know. What's that? What's going on in Myanmar? Civil War. for the escalation of the conflict following the 2021 coup d'etat. Myanmar Civil War 2021 to present.
Insurgencies have been ongoing in Myanmar since 1948, when the country, then known as Burma, gained independence from the UK. It has largely been an ethnic conflict, and ethnic armed groups fighting Myanmar's armed forces in Tatmadaw for self-determination, despite numerous ceasefires and the creation of autonomous self-administered zones. In 2008, armed groups continue to call for independence, increased autonomy, or federalization. It is the world's longest ongoing civil war, spanning almost 8 decades. Well, okay, so no, I'm wrong. I am 100% wrong.
Yep, I was about to say, that's not it.
It is kind of interesting that, most of the world's, governments and countries are involved in this. Like, it doesn't look like a whole lot of very small list, but I'm sure it's a lot longer than what it's supposed to be.
Anyway, 62, baby. Scroll up a little more. Oh, that's 63. 62.
Okay, so the Darul Islam Rebellion. Nope, that one ended in 62, but America's not part of it, so let's keep going.
Korean War.
It can't be the Korean War.
No, that's so.
Because
that's so.
this is most of the nations all together against.
Okay, babe. I'm gonna give you a little fun fact here. The Korean War never ended. It was on a ceasefire. You can click on it right now. I'll tell you that.
I'm alright. I believe you. Okay, let's see if anything started in 62. We got 57, 58, 58, 59.
60.
60 to 69.
There we go.
So it'd have to be.
All right.
62 and on.
Okay, here we go. The Tuareg Rebellion, Venezuela.
Tuareg.
The Argentinian Navy Revolt. The North Yemen Civil War. The Sino-Indian War between. Oh wow. China won that one. Communist insurgent in Sarawak. Malaysia. Go. They're going. You went too fast, baby. I'm sorry. I'm legitimately. Might they say? Hold on. The Burundi riot. Container engines. Cuban invasion of Venezuela.
No, I don't see anything where America is kind of like a
the Mexican Dirty War. Party of the Poor, Liga Communista. What the heck? Dominican Civil War. That was a spies war, it looks like.
Yeah, look at that. The CEFA, the SIM, the IAPF. That was a spy war right there. 100%. That's how you recognize that, is when it says intelligence and military. That's an easy spot.
South African, nope. Ongoing. Nope. Nothing.
So far, nothing. Unless there's a secret war that we all don't know about.
That's Wikipedia. There's a secret war. They would have put it out there.
Maybe not.
To feed into fear mongering? Hell yeah, they would have. Whether you know, you don't.
I don't see anything where America stands alone. So, it's gotta be an external conflict. Because, as it says in the prophecy, that it's gonna be...
Foreign affairs.
It's gonna be foreign affairs. It's going to be, all foreign wars. All the foreign countries against us. So, yeah, no, not even. So now we're pretty much due. We're well
200 years
overdue for
at least 2 centuries. 200 years.
Yeah, like 2 centuries. That's right.
If you count.
Because right now we're in 2024, and so that makes it, 40 years?
140 years.
Yeah, we're 140 years overdue for another conflict.
No, 40. We're 40 years overdue.
We're 40. Yeah, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're 40 years overdue.
But if you pay attention to everything that's going on right now, it could be happening right now. And read that last passage.
That's really interesting you say that, because supposedly, and this is just supposedly, just something I heard in a passing conversation a few weeks ago. Somebody was saying something about how our timeline has been altered. About how, we're not really in 2024.
Oh, we're in a spyglass?
We're in
a looking glass type ordeal?
Yeah. So, what if this is the third conflict that was supposed to happen? Because, you got the rest of the world kind of laughing at us right now.
Laughing at us right now until after election time.
Yeah, because, we're split between right and left, and, you have people posting ridiculous things on the right and the left.
Also, the
whole world is laughing at us.
Laughing at us and at the same time holding their breath.
Yeah, because we are the only, free nation in the world other than Argentina now. But...
And Argentina still has that loopholes and shit to get over. Seriously, enough. But enough about
all that. We're not gonna get too much into it.
Well, we got into it because of the prophecy.
Well, that is true. We got into it because of the topic. Yeah.
But we're being too diverted from it.
But back to the reading. As the spirit visitor ceased speaking, he raised his hand over McClellan's head in blessing, and the next instant peal of thunder rumbled through space. McClellan woke with a start. He was again in his room with his maps spread out on the table before him. But there was one difference. The maps were covered with the marked signs and figures which he had inscribed there during the vision. McClellan walked out the room to convince himself that he was really awake, and then turned and looked at the maps. The markings were still there. Convinced now that the experience was heaven-sent, McClellan had his horse saddled and rode from camp to camp, making the necessary changes in his strategy to meet the enemy's planned offensive. His moves were successful, and he prevented the capture of the city of Washington. And at that time, the Confederate Army was so close that Abraham Lincoln, sitting in his study at the White House, could hear the rumble of the Confederate artillery. Wow. They legit came this close to taking the White House. General McClellan concludes his account of the strange vision that saved the Union with these words: "Our beloved, glorious Washington shall again rest quietly and sweetly in his tomb until perhaps the end of the prophetic century approaches that is to bring the Republic to a third and final struggle, when he may once more, laying aside the crements of Mount Vernon, become a messenger of succor and peace from the great ruler who has all the nations in the earth in his keeping." I'm sorry, I just got to do the song. He holds the whole world in his hands, yeah, whole world in his hands. I'm sorry. It was just right there. Like I said, I'm spiritual. I'm not 100% Christian. So I grew up in church, and that was one of the things that they made you sing, during vacation Bible school. So and everybody knows that song anyway.
I'm about to say, don't let you explain yourself.
No, fair enough. But the future is too vast for our comprehension. We are the children of the present. When peace shall again have folded her bright wings and settled upon our land, the strange, unearthly map marked where the spirit eyes of Washington looked down, shall be preserved among the American archives as a precious reminder to the American nation of what in their great second struggle for existence they owe to God and the glorified spirit of Washington. Verily, or truly, is what that means, the works of God are above the understanding of man. It is not difficult to understand how a man who has been granted so strange an experience should come to realize that a secret destiny is overshadowing the country for which he fought. The prophetic import contained in the vision is now apparent, and the entire account was published in 1862, where there can be no doubt that we are in the presence of a genuine example of foreknowledge. It is now 80 years since Washington appeared to the General McClellan, and within the century of powers have the earth risen to destroy the concept of world democracy.
Mm-hmm.
They have risen to destroy the concept of world democracy. America is the vanguard for the democratic nation seeking to preserve its heritage from the encroachments of totalitarian powers. Already it is obvious that the post-war period of Reconstruction America must become a leader of nations in the establishment of a commonwealth of peoples. The purpose for which we are created is revealing itself through the long processes of time, and that purpose is indeed our most sacred heritage. It is written in the old books, when the brothers of the quest desire to bring about changes in the moral state, they send messengers in strange dreams and mystic visions, and accomplish their purpose by prevailing their will to the leaders of nations in sundry and curious ways. Whether we wish to believe that the spirits of the dead return to guide the living, or whether we choose to accept that man possesses faculties and powers which, under great stress, may bring his consciousness a little nearer to universal truth. And that is truth with a capital T.
Mm-hmm.
One thing is certain. Men accustomed to the spiritual ways of life have received visions and heard voices. By obeying these mysterious powers, they have contributed to the progress and the security of their fellow men. And the next chapter is our very last chapter, the end of the quest. And that is it for chapter 19. I guess, yes, a little review on the chapter. So it just seems that, there is some kind of great spirit.
Enlightenment, power, and great spirited, too, because
that, watches over our nation and has purposely, like I said before, has purposely left our nation to what it is today. Like, all those, the Greeks, the Chinese, the Hindus, the Africans, the Vikings, all of them came here well before Columbus did.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next book that we'll be going over, which is the narrative history of America, it does mention this. And this is a book written in 1984, I believe. Yes, it's 1984, which is 40 years after this.
And it's a lot thicker too. That's probably gonna be real, probably gonna be American history for us all, honestly.
Yeah, we're gonna have to chomp down the chapters into little bite-sized pieces. So some chapters will probably be like
like
4
chapter
1.3.
Like chapter 1.3. Are we going?
Yeah, we're gonna do like chapter 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on.
Yep. Because there's a lot of juicy details in that book that we're gonna be reading next. Like I said, it's gonna be like American history class course for free.
Yeah, because you know what? I've got this entire big library full of all these books that we plan to share with you on this podcast, so that way you are aware of all these different titles from all over the world that give all kinds of examples of how the world started. How it did, and look at where we are now.
And no matter if the facts are true or not, it's a simple fact. It's somebody's idea that's out there, and just puts everything in a different perspective for you.
Well, it is their idea, but when I read the little about the book in the front, it said that this was a person, Mr. William Tyndall. Or is it William Tyndall?
Oh! I wasn't talking about the American history book. I was also talking about Manly P. Hall.
Oh no, Manly P. Hall. This is all as far as we can tell from Mr. Manly P. Hall, he did his research. He went looking for document after document.
I understand that, but he did his research. But here's the thing about it: there's only one thing that people dispute him on, and that was the unknown patriot, because it was never recorded in either Jefferson's writing Benjamin Franklin's writing, or none of the founding fathers writing letters or journals of that day of that signing.
But it was with one of them. One of them had it.
Well,
one of them did. And apparently it was Jefferson's. But no one's ever found the document.
Exactly.
But supposedly this is Jefferson's account.
But that's where it comes to hearsay, he say. That's where, most historians want to damn dispute and debate that fact.
Okay,
I'm just saying that.
Well, like the Vatican, not trying to poke at the Vatican, okay? Not trying to poke at the Vatican. But we all know the Vatican has secret archives of stuff that they don't want people knowing. So, who's to say that, the, elites that run our country and the shadow governments or the Freemasons, whoever it is that, puppeteers the whole show, who's to say that they don't have this hidden and they're just trying to keep it from the rest of the world? Just like the Vatican is hiding other things under their secret archives. So, if it came from one of our founding fathers and this is something that only a Freemason gave us...
It could have been from the...
this is... when it comes from Freemasons, these are people that don't usually talk. Because, again, as we've gone over in this book, the history of Freemasons, they always get, killed. When they talk about Fight Club, the number one rule of Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club. What number one rule of Freemasonry, you don't talk about the knowledge that you learn in Freemasonry. So, if that is something that you only learn as a Mason, that's not something that's going to be out there for the public. Period.
Right, and that's one contradictory that I still don't understand on that.
I know, because the Emerald Tablets, everything that Freemasonry
they
comes
teach
from.
Yeah, everything that they teach, is supposed to be
put out there. It's
in
supposed to be shared
open.
With the rest of the world.
But that's why we're doing. But I guess in a sense, that's why we're doing it. Just a couple old handyman boys and girls doing it.
And we are not Freemasons.
No.
We don't come from Freemasons whatsoever.
No.
Literally,
we don't know.
I just started, looking up stuff and looking
just
into things.
Just being curious.
And just being a historian or a person that loves to just research and look at things in history. I find, the kooky and the weird and, the far-fetched and out there, and plus the stuff that, we already all know. And I like to take all the in-between and try to, see what the capital T truth is between it all. Because, there's always two sides or even three sides to a story. So you got to look 1, 2, and 3. Which is why we say we're not right, we're not left, we're not really in the middle either. We're just kind of like... There. We're neutral.
As it can be. Because so neutral you must call swish. Because also, just call me Swiss cheese, because I was cheesy and neutral.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, y'all, that's it. That's content on that note.
Thank you for sitting with us through this chapter, and if you enjoyed it, leave us a like hit subscribe on our YouTube channel,
and leave a comment.
And leave a comment, and share. And if you are watching us on Rumble, hit like and hit the follow button and hit the notification bell for when we drop new videos. And so, Thursday's episode will be our last episode for Secret Destiny of America. And we know that we promised having MC Media on the show today on Monday's episode, but we had to reschedule, so they will be coming on Thursday's episode.
Hopefully. We gotta make sure everything's still lined up. That we last talked and they said Thursday. They said they'll try to make it Thursday. We're gonna try to do a little viral. We're gonna do like a Zoom type kind of meeting, viral type thing. So that's gonna be really exciting. So stick around, stay tuned. Thank y'all for watching, and always remember to live life with eyes wide open. Thank y'all, and we appreciate y'all.